They're gonna release Benjamin, who's French Bennett, and you're gonna play Mawika, Lali, Escoffier, Benjamin. When are we getting a Bennett's Adventure Team resonance? I mean, but Benny's Adventure Team is just him. Like, canonically, that's kind of the whole thing. Right? So, like, that'd be really funny. Is that why Bennett has been so good this whole time? Because he's the only character whose faction buff only requires him? And so he was released with the buff already as part of his kit? Oh my god, that makes so much sense, actually. Holy. You're such a lorehead, true. Zajef pretending resonance buffs won't be made intending for Bennett to be barely relevant in the future. It's fine. He's gonna survive somehow. You know, he survived the witch buffs. He's still, like, best in slot for Klee over Durin. It's like, well, it's similar, but, like, if you're gonna care a lot about Klee, you probably have her on more investment. So the Bennett team is probably better. So, like, yeah. He might not survive the witch set, actually, now that I think about it. That might be a problem. He's still in Mawika team. I mean, for now. But, like, can you not sort them by origin here? Like, all I'm saying is once we get the French resonance, what if Bennett's best team becomes, or sorry, what if Mawika's best team becomes Mawika, Sitlali, Escoffier, Because, like, or maybe Lynette. Maybe Lynette becomes good there. Nah, it'd be hard to get your Pyro Swirl in a team like that. So maybe not. It's fine. The new character will. They're gonna release. They're gonna release Benjamin, who's French Bennett, and you're gonna play Mawika, Sitlali, Escoffier, Benjamin. Benoit. It could be Benoit too. Who knows? Fontaine buff not likely. I mean, I don't know. I think it's very possible they do Fontaine buffs. Because, like, there's definitely Fontaine characters that would not be broken if they got a major buff. Right? Like, if they released a French resonance and included a bunch of characters in it, right, they could do, like, Risley, Navia, Emilie, Sijuin, Fremene, Lynette, Charlotte, or something. But I guess the lore link between those characters would be kind of weak. The non-palais characters, because the French really like revolution. So all the characters that aren't directly linked to the government. So, like, but then you'd have to include Escoffier, right? No, she's part of the bourgeoisie. They could give her a buff like Sucrose. Yeah, I guess so, actually. So you'd do, like, Escoffier. But isn't Emilie's job kind of related? I don't know if you could include Emilie with that, right? So you do Escoffier, Sijuin, Navia, Charlotte, Risley, Fremene, Lynette, Linny, right? And I guess including Linny is fine, because he doesn't work really well with any of the other characters here. So even if he's pretty good compared to the other ones, forcing yourself to bring one of these won't necessarily be an upgrade if the buff isn't too big. Risley is a prison warden. I mean, yeah, but, like, it's not like he became the prison warden by going to prison warden school and then going up to the government and being like, "Hello, government, I would like to be given a job as a prison warden." Like, he's basically just the top dog in prison. I bet 2027 Sijuin is just Nebulette today. Oh, true. Chat, if I were to buff Sijuin, what the fuck would I do? Bond of Life support? I don't know, because, like, the problem with making Sijuin a Bond of Life support is that her current identity, even if she's pretty bad at it, is buffing skill damage. And we don't have a Bond of Life character that deals skill damage. So I don't know if I like that idea. Skirk with Fontaine Sword? That's not skill damage. I think what I'd like to see is... Actually, no. I was thinking, like, maybe give her this passive, but it scales based on the amount of characters on your team that have had Bond of Life. But the problem with that is that I don't really expect them to ever make a passive that is much better for 4-star weapons than for 5-star weapons. Right? They want to sell 5-star weapons. They wouldn't make a character like that. I don't think you can really, like, unless you just also give Bond of Life to all of these, which I guess they could, but like, kind of don't expect it. I really don't know, chat. Like, mainly, you would want her to be incentivized to be played with these other characters. How do you do that? Maybe... Go full Siren? Fuck no. HP fluctuations? That's just Farina. That's not really anyone else. Actually, you could make her anti-synergy with Farina. Like, what if you made it so that she gives the party Bond of Life and abilities that consume HP, instead of consuming HP, consume Bond of Life? No, because then that disables Maréchal Save for the carries. That won't work either. Maybe we could give her something like consuming Bond of Life gives her a buff. Meh. Honestly, why am I even looking at the French? I feel like they're some of the least likely to get a buff anyways. What group do you think would get a buff if they gave Inazuma a buff? Yokai? Chat, is an Oni a yokai? Yeah? Okay. What the fuck is Goro? Dog? I know he's a dog, but like, does that count as a yokai or not? What about Yai? Dude, what the fuck is a yokai, like, by definition? Like, I have a vibes-based understanding of what a yokai is, right? But I don't have a strict definition. Yai is a kitsune, so yeah, yokai. I mean, I knew she was a kitsune. I didn't know for sure that a kitsune was a yokai. Right, like my understanding is, like, Yume Glorp Glorp is a yokai. I wasn't sure about Ito. You guys told me, right? So I knew Yume Glorp Glorp, Kirara. I was not sure about all three of these. Wait, is that it? Sarah's a yokai? No shot, Sarah's a yokai. What? Shogun is a yokai? Okay, now you're just making shit up. She's a fucking robot. She's a Tengu. Oh. I mean, I knew that, but I thought that was just like... I didn't think she was like an... I thought she was just a cosplayer. You're telling me she actually has wings? like those aren't props? That's crazy. Wait, so the yokai are Yume Glorp Glorp, Kirara, Yai, Goro, Ito. What the fuck is Kokomi? She's jellyfish related, but I don't think she's a yokai, right? Or is she? She's a I mean she's a fish. She's human. Okay. Whatever. Raiden, I don't know if that counts as a yokai. I don't think so. Sarah is a yokai, and that's it, right? Sayu? Really? Sayu is a ninja? I mean, Sarah is a fucking government official. That's her job, not her identity, no? Like, those aren't mutually exclusive. Okay, but she is human. Okay. Sayu is a Mujina, which is a type of yokai. Is she? No. No, she isn't. She isn't. Ayato is? Okay, you guys are just making shit up now. Don't you start saying Ayato's a horse yokai, okay? You're not getting me there, buddy. Go back to 2021. The umbrella sword is also a yokai. Imagine if you could get the resonance from the umbrella sword. Holy shit. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so these are the yokai then, right? All of these characters could use a buff. That's not Sayu. So, like, Goro is not a yokai? Oh. Oh, that's kind of cooked then. What kind of veto team do you make with yokai resonance if Goro isn't a yokai? Hey, he's an honorary yokai. Thoughts? Goro is the Razor, exactly. No, I actually really like this lineup though, because these are characters that make a lot of sense to be together. The character where it makes the least sense for her to be with the other ones here is Yuma Glorb Glorb, but like she's a standard character, and I guess it is a little bit cooked. You'd have to do it with like Kirara if you don't want to have her be reliant on you getting another limited 5-star, right? Because you could do it with Yai, but I don't know if I want that. Who would you have to include as a 4-star to make that not feel awful? I guess Sayu, right? We can justify Sayu being yokai adjacent, right? Yeah, definitely. There's no way they wouldn't include Raiden. I mean, I don't think they need to buff Raiden. They could give Sarah and Yai buffs that make them synergize really well in a Raiden team. And they could indirectly buff Raiden by doing that, right? Or they could just include Raiden. Like, I think that's fine too. But yeah. Okay, if I had to design a buff for this, honestly, Yuma Glorb buff, you know what I would want? Make it so that her swirl buff is significantly stronger for other characters. Incentivize double Animo or triple Animo teams with Yuma Glorb, right? Because, like, there's overlap in her kid design between her and Aoife, which makes her feel like she doesn't really have a reason to exist. But Aoife's kid isn't centered around Swirl, it's centered around Swirl and its chain reactions. So what if Yuma Glorb was centered around only Swirls? Where you're trying to do a double or a triple Animo team that only has one off-field element. And you focus on your Animo character's swirl damage. I think that would be really cool, right? And it would work well if you include Sayu in the group, because you could use Sayu's burst for it. Maybe you give her a way to get a part of the buff even when her E isn't active, so you can also go spin on Sayu. I think that could be really cool. Or maybe the Sayu buff you give increases her Animo app a lot. Like that's I would love to see something like that. Alright, like Yuma Glorb passive like multiplies swirl damage by 2. Or 3 even. When it's triggered by a character other than her. Sayu! Yokai adjacent resonance. Get a second Daruma. And give some EM scaling on each hit. Or something like that. Kirara. Honestly, just slap a bunch more damage percent into her. Give her a 40 damage percent buff at C0. And increase this 12 to like 32 or something. So 60 more damage percent at C6. Yeah, you can make it scale with her HP, right? Sarah buff. Okay, number 1. Okay, I do not think increasing Sarah buff duration would be an interesting way to go about Sarah. I think that would be boring and cringe. We do not need our 7th, like, long uptime buffer. The short buff uptime on her is different from other characters in a way that gives her a separate identity, which I like. I would love for Sarah to be actually good at incentivizing quick swap teams. I think she should give the buff to herself even if she doesn't catch the particles. Or even if she doesn't catch the like explosion or whatever. And she should permanently, as long as the attack buff is active, have the shortened charge attack duration from the E. Right? So you can always, as long as your buff is still active, swap back to Sarah and do a charge attack. To refresh your buff. That's the first change I'd make, and I think it's probably the most important one. Reduce ult CD? I don't like that, actually. I don't think that's as interesting. So that's the first thing. Would that be enough to make her good? Maybe you give her a little extra too. Like, the biggest problem I see is it'll be hard to get the Sarah buff to work well in a Yai Raiden team. And I feel like I'd kind of want that to be a good thing, you know? But I don't want to give her more uptime. So we gotta figure something else out. Maybe on the burst it applies to the whole team. Thoughts? Yeah, I like that actually. On burst it applies to the whole team. Let Yai snapshot and it's fixed. Wait, you're right. Just let Yai snapshot and it's fixed. You're actually so right. That's all we gotta do. Just let Yai snapshot and we're fine. Okay, good point. Alright, bet. Let's just do that then. Okay. And also, instead of restoring 1.2 energy, I think it should restore an amount of energy that is a percentage of the target character's energy. Right? So instead of like 1.2 energy, it would be like 2% of cost. Or 3% of cost or whatever. So it would restore more energy to Yai than to other characters. Honestly, I don't think she really necessarily needs better numbers. Right? Like, the problem in Yai, Sarah, and Raiden Sarah, it's not Sarah, it's the other part. Right? Sarah's got a lot of cringe involved, but she's not a bad character. Right? Like, you fix a couple of things with the quality of life to make the rotations more consistent by making it so that her she always gets her own attack buff, which means that she permanently has the shorter aim shot duration, right? And you allow her to shoot off as many like enhanced arrows as she wants, which would also, by the way, allow for DPS Sarah, right? That could be cool. Probably wouldn't be that good, but it'd be cool. Would you change any of Sarah's cons as well? Meh. Anyways, Yai. What the fuck would you do to Yai? Dude, Yai's burst needs a fucking rework, man. That's what it fucking needs. Jesus Christ. Ult restores 5 energy per totem. See, that's the sort of change that would technically be a buff, but that wouldn't change anything. Because the problem isn't that her burst costs too much. The problem is that even when your burst is available, it feels fucking terrible to use. If they were to give Yai an actual buff, I don't think I would necessarily want them to just fix the issues she has. Like, they could lean into the differences she has, right? The longer field time requirement. And instead of just removing the need to, like, do the 3Es again, they could just give you an upside to doing them, right? So maybe Yai gains, like, 15% damage bonus every time she uses her skill. And it lasts for, like, let's say 18 seconds. But it has a limit of, like, 10 stacks. And the duration gets refreshed every time you use skill. So you get heavily rewarded for making sure you swap back and get your totems in time and stuff like that. I think that could be really cool. You might as well play on-field DPS Yai if you always have to do it exactly. Well, you wouldn't have to do it exactly, right? The totems last 14 seconds. And I'm thinking of having an 18-second window. That's a lot of margin of error. Honestly, you can make it 15 and still be completely fine. But it would also give an incentive of using the skill again before burst, even if you already have 3 totems out. Right? Like, Yai's optimal rotations could be something like use E 3 times, go do the rest of your setup, and then back to her and E twice or 3 times, depending on how long the rest of your setup is, and then burst, and then E 3 times again. That's a lot of emerging. What if those stacks also buff the burst? Oh, they should. They should also buff the burst, yes. Too many people just want Yai to be Fischl, but better. Yeah, like, I don't think that's interesting, right? Like, as much as right now the biggest problem with Yai is her field time requirement, the reason why her field time requirement is a problem is because she doesn't do enough to justify it. Not because long field time is an inherent issue. You know who else has long field time? Every fucking carry in the game. And I think it's interesting for Yai to have an identity that's like somewhere halfway between a support and a carry. And if anything, I would love for them to keep that. Especially because, identity-wise, it functions really well with Raiden's identity of being a relatively short field time carry. And a lot of people want them to work well together. And I feel like you could also give her an incentive for higher energy generation, right? Like, give her a Mawika-like thing where you have like a burst cost. In Maoika's case, it's 100 fighting spirit, and then you can get more than that, and every point above that increases the damage. They could do that with just straight up energy. Now, am I just saying that as fav propaganda? Maybe. Maybe I am. You got a problem with that? Hmm? But it would also increase Raiden synergy. And also Sarah synergy. Sarah does have an energy restoration passive. And if the numbers on it are high enough, then maybe you give her emblem and actually make her a burst-focused character. Because giving her more ER gets her more stacks, so you would like to build high ER. Like, something like that could be really cool. Anyways, that's what I would do for Yai. I think that could be cool. Ito. I wonder what the fuck you would want to do for Ito. Other than just a strict numbers buff, what could you do? Make him throw a Baressa at enemies. Yeah, Ushi retires, new cow. Yeah, I like that. Maybe using up, what are they called? Using up a superlative super strength stack increases your next Ushi damage by a certain amount. Up to like 10 stacks or something. I actually like that a lot. Just Navia? No. Like, I see the similarity, but like, what Navia needs is a reaction triggered by the team, which means it's team building and rotation optimization. What Ito would need is combo optimization, which is very different.